It's 88.3 Southern FM, and this is the last segment of the show. And we're talking about lots of things, but we're talking about conversation and the perception and things like where you are when you're having a conversation, the mood, the emotion of the person you're having a conversation with, or the emotion that you're feeling at the time, the perception that is received from the person that you're having the conversation with when you're voicing your opinion. And we all have opinions. And as I always say, we have opinions and we're allowed our opinions, and we can agree to disagree, not saying that I'm right and you're wrong. You see it in a different way to the way I see it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
But also too, you may say something to me and I may not have understood the way you meant it or
Yes,
the way you said it.
That's right.
So clarification is very important as well, because you may clarify and I go, oh, that's how you meant it. Yeah, no, totally understand that. So clarification is really important too.
That is asking a question, and that is understanding, because when you're having a conversation and someone doesn't understand what you mean.
Active listening.
Active listening, but also asking. Don't be afraid to ask a question and say, what did you really mean when you said that?
For sure.
Don't be afraid to ask, because if you don't ask, you will walk away from that conversation being confused, maybe being annoyed, maybe so many different emotions can come up. So it's all about saying, well, I didn't really understand what you meant. Can you explain it to me in a different way?
100%. You both need to people. Communication is one of the hardest things to do, because of the fact that we're both grown up differently, we both have different experiences, we both perceive the world differently, we've both been through different things. So, communication is not always easy. So finding a way to communicate together. There's also, with relationships, and Annie may have spoken about this, I'm not sure, there is the five love languages. Yeah. So the 5 love languages can tell, if you do it with somebody, they can tell you if you do it by yourself, it tells you how you like to be communicated to when it comes to love as well. But also when you do it with someone else, it says how they would like to communicate. A little while ago I did mine and I was like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. It was totally right for me. And then I did it on somebody else, and it was, I didn't think his top love language was what it came out to be. And I was like, oh wow, okay. So I needed to adjust the way I communicated to make sure that it was towards his love language as well. So it helps the communicate. The reason I did it is to communicate better.
Yeah, and it's the interpretation. It's how we interpret things, and I think that's why it's really important to have the conversation. But to understand another person and where they're coming from, and have a little bit, if you've got a little bit of their background and you understand where they come from, and you say something, you can say it in a way that that they hopefully will understand.
Yes.
that. Yes. And that's respect, but it's also you understanding and respecting someone else for who they are and their thoughts and their feelings. It's not just about you in the conversation. When you're having a conversation with somebody, it's 2 people having a conversation. It's not one-sided.
Do you know what you said? It may be a little thing, but it's one of the biggest things.
It's huge. You
said there are 2 people having that conversation. So there's, we feel one way, but the other person may feel the other. The end of a conversation is the objective is to sort whatever it is out, or to come to an agreement, or to be on the same page, or to do anything that we do. Communication is the ultimate, is so important, because when you're doing things closely with somebody, you're never going to agree on everything. There is going to be miscommunication here and there. Things are going to happen. But it's not that things happen, that's the bad thing. It's how do you sort it out? How do you communicate it to actually sort it out? That's the big thing.
And that is another conversation you have with them, and say, you can apologize and say, look, I didn't really understand what you meant. Can you please, let's have that conversation again. Can you please explain it to me in a way so that I can understand it? Because if you're in a heated conversation, things get said that you don't want to say,
because they can't always be taken back.
They can never be taken back.
Yeah.
You can forgive someone for saying something, but it's always there then.
Yeah.
Once you've said it, it's said, it's done, the damage is done. But whether that person can forgive you or whatever it is another thing. But you've got to then have a conversation with them to understand and say, well, look, I'm sorry, that's what I said, but I was feeling this way. Do you understand that?
Oh, there's another thing. We don't always understand what people have been going through in the last week or the
So
last
true.
month, or we don't always know what's been happening in their lives.
That's true.
And same, they don't always understand or know what's been happening in our lives. And why should they? How should they? We don't have ESP. Well, not everyone has ESP.
Well,
to understand that. So just having more of an understanding towards each other is really important.
And we don't live in each other's pockets, so
No,
therefore we don't see what goes on in different people's lives. And, I know a few people at the moment are going through tough things, so I send them messages and say, how are you going today? Are you okay?
Yeah.
And they might write back to me later in the day when they're not busy. Oh, I was angry today, or was this, or I was feeling that. But you've got to bring that out and allow, and I always say that if something's going on that's really tough, you can sit in it for a little while, but don't let yourself sit in it for too long. You've got to then step outside that and look at the positive side of whatever it is. Because if we sit too long in something that's negative, we tend to stay there.
I will turn around and say, you know what, tonight I'm in a crappy mood. I don't want to speak to anyone, see anyone. I'll sit on the couch, watch TV, cry, do whatever I want to do. And tomorrow's a new day. We'll start a new day. Even if you want to take a weekend, just to, say, you don't want to be part of anything. And then the next Monday morning you wake up, it's a new day.
Yep.
So we always need to, life's too short not to wake up and have a new day. So we really need to have those times for, I guess it's self-care as well. And being allowed to go through whatever it is you go through, but also understanding that it is a new day and we just need to see things from a different perspective, and we need to handle it from a different perspective as well. But never, ever, ever, ever have, and I've done this before, and this is how I've learned, never have conversations that are important conversations or sorting out conversations over text or email.
Oh, God, no. Because the wording, even when you're having a conversation and you're writing something, they're going to interpret it in a totally different way because the emotions are high, the
and
intelligence.
you're not there to clarify it. And you're not there to see their emotions.
That's right.
And you're not there to calm them down.
That's right.
And you're not there to say, this is not how I meant it. You're not there.
Yeah. So that's why I say bring back the humanness, bring back the conversation as humans face to face, so that we can really see if someone's hurting or if someone needs some help and they can ask. Asking was a hard thing for me once upon a time. It still is a bit hard for me, but I will ask occasionally. But it's all about being considerate, being kind, being thoughtful, and understanding where someone's coming from.
And it's not always easy understanding where someone's coming from.
No.
So this is why I say, take a step back, take a couple of days, breathe, and then, have a think about, why is this happening? Are they seeing it from a different perspective? And sometimes, they could just, think you're thinking something that you haven't even thought.
Yeah.
Or that you're not even thinking. So
it's interpretation.
That's it. And that's why a conversation is so important to do. And if the person's interstate or overseas or, too far away, do it on Zoom. Have a Zoom conversation.
So you can see their face. It's like when someone's not in the studio, I can still see them. I can still have that conversation and see them. Talking over the phone is not a way I converse very well. I much prefer to see them face to face and have that conversation with them. And look, half the people that I have conversations with, I don't even know them, but I know by the end. I know by the end who they are, where they come from, what they do, and, all those sorts of things. So I think we learn a lot through conversation.
Yes, we do.
And we'll continue to learn that conversation is the essence of who we all are.
Yes, so if you can take, with the audience we're talking to, if you can take, one thing away from it, spend more time having conversations with your family, with your friends. Go for a coffee, go for lunch, have dinner without the phones and the TV on, and just, find out what people are doing through the day. With my nephew, I used to ask him when we would have dinner, like when he was little, I used to say, what are 2 bad things that happened today? Because, when you say to a child, how was school? Yeah, good. What'd you do? Nothing. So I would say, what's 2 bad things and 2 great things that happened today? So, then when he would talk about the bad things, you'd learn so much more about what's going on. And then what are 2 great things that happened today? So you'd learn more about what's happening as well. So it's interesting, just tweak your conversation to learn more about people as well, See, also, you've got Google to find out ways of conversation, questions to ask. There are some great, especially with kids, there are some great things and tools to ask different questions that you wouldn't usually think of asking kids about school.
I've never thought of going on Google and asking questions about what you'd ask a kid. Oh. There you go.
There's something it comes up on my memories every year, and I put it up on my Facebook, and it's 50, I think it's 50 questions that you can ask your children.
I'm going to check it out.
To be able to find out different things, who did you sit next to today? Who and what were they? Just delve into different things that you usually wouldn't ask, because people will tell you more. One of the big questions that I ask people that I first meet is, why do you do what you do? And when I ask them why,
my staple question.
Well, because you're always going to find out the what anyway when you ask them that.
Yeah.
But when they talk about their why, they get more emotional, they get more deeper, they get more passionate. There's a reason for different things. So it's a really lovely question to ask. And I did a conference recently, and I put people into breakout rooms, and we had, and I'm going to try it on the one we do this week as well.
Okay.
And I asked them their why as well, and people were amazed at how deep they got in 15 minutes.
Look,
or in the very short time they had per person.
Yeah, I do a session with people, and they've got to talk about quirky things about themselves.
Oh, I like that.
And fun things. They're not allowed to talk about business. They're not allowed to talk. They're not allowed to pitch. They're not allowed to do anything like that. We've got to find out who they are. So my quirks are on Friday. And it's really interesting because you find out things about people that you never knew, and people are fascinated when they learn new things about people.
Quirks. I'm really going to have to think about that one. I know I am a quirky person, but particular quirks.
Yeah. And things you like, or there might be something that's uniquely you that you never talk about.
I would be interested to ask my closest friends what they think my quirks are.
Do you know
or
what?
Maybe I wouldn't. I'm not sure yet.
Well, the funny thing was, I was challenged by someone to ask how they saw me, how they perceived me.
Yeah.
And I was quite taken aback, and I know someone, and I said to her, what do you think, what do you see me as? And she said, stubborn. And I said, yes.
I remember that.
Yes. Because I am. When I'm determined, I'm stubborn. I won't give up.
But there's nothing wrong with being stubborn.
No.
But in the right way. And you're stubborn in the right way.
Yeah. And then other people said things about me, and I go, really? Really? And it's because we see ourselves in one way and other people see us differently. Even though they know us, or they kind of know us, or they think they know us, they interpret us in a different way.
But that's what you're really good at. You're really good at being able to, write content in a way that the audience perceives that person, not by what the person perceives, but what the audience perceives. So that way they get their message right, and it's clear for whomever needs to hear that message.
And I see so many that need help.
Yeah, they do, because we see things. People are in their own businesses.
That's
they're
right.
in their own things, so they see it from their point of view. So they're not looking at it from their client's point of view. They're looking at it from theirs. But you're able to actually look at it from the client's point of view and turn that message into something that actually makes sense from the client to use that business person.
That's exactly right. It's really interesting because it's not about you. It's about who you're sending that message to.
And that's what people forget.
And they do forget because it's in their head and they're talking.
And it's normal. It's totally normal.
I can make a story. I can do a song about it. But it really is true that we're in our own heads. We write our messages the way we think people need to hear it.
Because we're in it.
Yeah, when it should be the other way around. Now, we're coming to the end of the show.
I've had a lot of fun with you, Miss Faye.
I've had a lot of fun with me, Miss Faye.